Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Lammas Symposium of Goddess Temple Teachings. It is so wonderful to have you all here. And this afternoon, I'm here with Kathy Jones, and we are going to talk about Kathy's course, The Empowerment of the Crone. Before we start, I thought it would be lovely for us all to just settle in our seats or wherever we're standing and just to connect together with a little prayer to the Lady of Avalon. So if you just make yourself comfortable, settle in your seat, and let's breathe together, in and out. Lady of Avalon, Lady of our hearts, Lady of these sacred isles, we call to you to be with us this afternoon as we explore the empowerment of the crone. Give us your blessings and enable us to connect with you today. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Blessed be.
So welcome back, Kathy, and thank you
Thank
for
you.
your inspiring talk this morning with Kit. That was
Thank
brilliant. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about your wonderful offering, the empowerment of the crone. So would you like to introduce that?
Yeah, sure. So this is a course. It's a 5-weekend course, beginning October 5th and 6th. 5 weekends going through to March next year. The Empowerment of the Crone. It's a course I have taught before and found to be very inspiring, exciting. And I think everyone who was part of it really benefited from this exploration. So as everyone can see, I am a crone. I am an old woman. I have been in the goddess movement for a long time now. When I was young, when I was in my 20s, goddess was not a word that was ever used by anyone. So everything that I had been taught up to that point in schools or churches or anything was all about God, and it was about he, him, and his. And in all that time, so I was, from a young age, I was a spiritual seeker and was always looking. I was questing for something, and I didn't know what it was at the time. But I was always looking. And then, so every so often, I would find something and fall in love with a particular deity or a guru or a something. Well, not a guru, but that kind of thing. But very quickly, each time, I would find disappointment. Disappointment because everything was spoken of in very fixed kind of terms. If you didn't believe the book or the word or the whatever, and that was in all kinds of religions, from Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, all of them. If you didn't believe what was written down, usually by male monks at some point in time, usually a long time after whoever they were talking about, so it essentially made up as and given as his story and his story. Of course, it was all about his story, so it was dissatisfying for me. It was when I moved to Glastonbury in the late 1970s. I met some women and we began a women's group at that time. And we explored the 7 demands of the women's liberation movement. Yay. Yes.
Wow.
And we would meet kind of every 2 weeks in someone's house, and we would talk and we would laugh and cry and really start to say what we really thought about how life was. And we were all in the same position of not really knowing what we were doing. and talking. Out of that, at one time, it was the time of Greenham Common, which was when thousands of women were going to Greenham to protest at women's peace camps about American nuclear cruise missiles being brought into Britain.
I
And
remember that.
Yeah, and there were some amazing experiences, and it was really there that I first heard about Goddess as spirit, and that and something in me awoke, because I didn't know who Goddess was. I had never been educated about her. I had never been told about her. I did not know who she was. And then I began to realize that there were all these myths, these mythical stories about Goddess that were accessible. They were all still in patriarchal forms, but inside of them, there were these stories of an ancient goddess who had been there long before the patriarchal gods arrived. And I began to write and create and act in and perform in sacred dramas here in Glastonbury. That over the years we reworked these ancient myths to bring Goddess into more prominence. And that went on for a period of maybe 13 years. And each year we would do one or two of these community sacred dramas. And in that, the Goddess came alive. She was embodied by actors. And at a certain point in that, so each performance would last for either one night or 3 nights, and then that was it. It was gone. I did write a book that was called On Finding Treasure, which has some of the scripts in it, the manuscripts for it. But then I thought, wouldn't it be great to do something really bigger, something that lasted longer, something that continued? And I began to think about creating a goddess conference here in Glastonbury and inviting the goddess-loving people I knew from all over Britain to come and take part in it. So this was in 1995. I'd spoken about the idea to Tina Redpath, who at that time owned and still does own the Goddess and Green Man shop that is in Glastonbury. And when I walked the labyrinth on Glastonbury tour, and when I came down, I knew that it had to happen, that this conference had to happen the following year. So it was like we had a year to prepare. I had a year to prepare, and I told her about it, and she said, "Can I help you?" And yes, please. So it kind of began from there. And the Goddess Conference, of course, is now in something like its 29th year, something, 28, 29, something like that.
I think it is 29th.
And I was the mother and founder and creatrix in the conference for 21 years. And it was one of the greatest experiences that I had. And we created many experiences for hundreds and hundreds of people, big ceremonies, small ceremonies, all sorts of things. And in each conference, we would learn more about a particular face of Goddess. In one of the conferences, we celebrated the crone as Goddess. And it was very powerful. And we also invited some of the older women, the crones that we knew who knew something about Goddess. We invited them to come. And there were people like Lydia Rule, who at that time was a crone, and she created these wonderful Goddess icon banners that are displayed each year still in the Goddess Conference. And several other crones, Lady Olivia Durden Robinson, who created the Fellowship of Isis with her brother. So we had some really magnificent crones who were in that time were in their 70s and 80s, and by the end, Lady Olivia, she was in her 90s, and they have now passed away. Julie Felix was another one, so it's like these amazing women, crones, and also, so learning about the crone and learning about the crone as woman and as goddess seems really important. And as I entered my crone years, and my definition of a human crone is you get to cronehood when you're about 70. Now, in certain circles, like you become a crone when you are menopausal, like you go through menopause, then you're a crone. And to me, that's ridiculous. It's just you aren't. You know nothing really. You're quite young still.
Yes.
I believe this is true. Yes, certain things. And it's more a phase of your life where I like to call it the weaver phase of your life. It's when you have confidence, you know who you are, you have capacities to do things and create things, and you can bring many things together and create. And you still usually have physical energy, you have emotional energy. You are not so. This is all generalizations, but you're not so much lost in the emotional states of younger people, younger women particularly. You don't have young children usually anymore. Your children are grown, and quite often they've left home, or it coincides with your children leaving home. And in a way, it's like a new place in life for you to be more independent and to decide what you really want to do with the rest of your life. I do remember I was kind of thrust into menopause by having breast cancer at the age of 48, and fell headlong into breast cancer and menopause and a lot of hot flashes, just so all of that. And it really was the first time that I had considered that I might die when I was about 50. It was like that was the first time I thought about it. I might die. And up until then, I'd always thought I was immortal. I was going to live forever.
We do, don't we? Think we're going to live forever.
Yeah. It's a natural part of the kind of flow of life, to think you're going to, when you're young particularly, even though you flirt with dying, when you're in pain and emotional pain, all of that. But actually, the real meeting of death, and having breast cancer was the first time that I really met death. And because there was a strong possibility that I could die because of the kind of aggressive cancer that I had. And I had to face this gateway. So there's a gateway to death. And it was the first time I went there and I met it. I was very fortunate that people were very kind to me, and the community here in Glastonbury was very kind. And ceremonies were arranged for me. So I had to have chemotherapy, so I was going to lose all my hair. And at that time, there wasn't a way not to lose your hair. So I was going to lose my hair. So somebody suggested we did a ceremony to mark the loss of hair. And we did this wonderful ceremony in the Miracles Room, in the Glastonbury Experience, where lots of people came and they pulled. So when you have it, your hair starts to fall out and you can just pull on it and it comes out, which is an extraordinary thing. And also some of my hair was shaved off. So some was pulled out by my friends. They pulled my hair out, and some was shaved off. And two people, one person, Chris Makepeace, and Pauline Watson, two friends, they had their heads shaved with me, which I found to be extraordinary that they would do that, just so I wasn't doing it. Yeah. But what I learned, and from that experience and lots of others, was that we can create ceremonies that symbolize the dying and the letting go, that take us to these really difficult edge places that I believe are the places where the crone rules, because she is the one who leads us towards death, and she is also there waiting for us when we die. She is, you know. And the crone as goddess, she is the old, 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 old woman of the world, who is the rocks and the stones and the, you know, and the bones that have been there for 1 billion years, however long the earth has existed. She is very, very old, and she carries the wisdom that is there in this experience. And I really wanted to do something that recognizes her, and to find the ceremonies that introduce us to her. So this course that I'm going to teach, is the empowerment of the crone, which is about exploring many different aspects of the human process of aging and dying, and what happens to us, how we feel about these things, both emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, what is happening. So we start off looking at the ceremonial wheel of the crone and the processes of aging, and the physical and emotional, mental and spiritual experiences of getting older. And I have, as I have got older, I have realized that certain things happen when you get older that cannot happen earlier, that are to do with perspective on life, on the length of a life. So to really to explore this, there is something about being able to look at the length of your life and the lives of friends and others, that introduces some ideas that you cannot have when you are younger. And this is something that no one really talks about. So this course is about exploring some of those thoughts. It's also, becoming a crone is about taking stock of your life and all the experiences you've had so far, what you have learned, what has been revealed to you, what you and what is left now to create and to experience. And often side by side with this is that the body is beginning to, or parts of the body are beginning to fail, or to get old, to wear out. The idea of this course is not to sit and talk about what is wrong with us, what pains we feel and the aches in our bodies. That's not the purpose of the course. But it's how we feel about this whole part of life that we are in, because, you know, you have the maiden time of your life, you have the lover time of your life, you have the mother time of your life, and you have the crone time of your life, and each are quite distinctly different. So also it's like, how do we feel about approaching death? And so death in our society, in patriarchal society, is presented as a bad thing, to be avoided at all costs and not to be talked about, and not to be explored. So this course explores these things, how we feel about death, and also what kind of spiritual practice can prepare us for our own death. Because if you are a goddess loving person, you are, as you are dying, it's about a return to goddess. It is about being embraced by goddess. And what do we think is happening when we die? And what do those things mean? And what is death? What is the after death state? And depending on what you believe, what is the rebirth from that after death state, that incarnation? So we come from the perspective of, we are souls incarnating into physical life on this beautiful planet. And like all living things, we are seeds planted in the earth. We incarnate. As babies, we remember some things, we forget some things, and then we grow and we mature and we age and we die and we are dead, and then we are reborn, and then we come round again. And each time, hopefully, we are more conscious We are more conscious of the spaces between things and more conscious of being born and of dying. So how do we, from a goddess-centered perspective, how do we approach death, our own death and the death of our friends and families and loved ones, and how, so, and there's also always the sudden death from illness. There are different ways of coming to your own death. Thing of the crone is what there are. The crones are the story keepers. We keep the stories. So I have stories from when I was very young, from 60 years. I have stories from 60 years ago. Little things that I can remember, little ways of doing things, things that happened, things that are funny. And, there's lots of things. And what I notice is I am filled with a wealth of knowledge that when I die will be lost unless I find ways to hand this information on. And this is true for everyone who is aging.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How do we hand things on to younger generations so they don't have to make the same mistakes that we do? But yeah, so it's all those kind of things. And really, the crones are quite absent from society as the resource of wisdom that we are. We
Absolutely.
know, we experience so much, and yet I am aware of, so being, when I was younger, being an attractive young woman, I would walk down the street and people would look at me because of beauty. And now I can walk down the street and no one looks at me. I don't actually mind that, but it's like, it's the how you become visible, how you become invisible, and I suppose it's in the invisibility, much is lost in that invisibility.
Absolutely, yes.
For the society in which I live. And so this course, this empowerment of the crone course, is really about helping us all to become more visible again, to share our wisdom, to discuss all these things, to do ceremonies for all these kinds of things for each other, and to share with each other some of the knowledge that we have gleaned from 60 years, 70 years, 80 years of life. I would say this course is open to everyone, regardless of age, who wish to receive the wisdom of the crone and be empowered by her. So you may be 22 and want to come and learn about the crone. You may be 25, or you may be 55, or you may be 75. Yeah. So everyone is welcome, and it's men can come as well as women. Everyone who wants to know more about crones and the crone as goddess, as woman, as a resource of wisdom is welcome.
It's so important, isn't it, in our society as well, to sort of really value each other as we get older.
Yeah, because it will happen to everybody.
Absolutely, yes.
No one's going to miss out on this experience, except if you die when you're 30, kind of thing. This experience is going to be for you.
Yes.
When you are older, and also you will. I know from the the other times I've taught this course, you will learn things you did not know from from the crone. She will teach you things that you need to know about life. And about what it means to be a soul incarnate on this beautiful planet Earth. Yeah.
It sounds like an amazing course.
Yeah. And I like it that this course is taught through the Goddess Temple, because as with everything in the Goddess Temple, we are reclaiming things that have been forgotten. And of course, here in Glastonbury, on the Isle of Avalon, where there is much magic and mystery to be explored, especially the mysteries of the old women.
And what an invite that is. Thank you, Kathy.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I hope some of you will come and join us.
It sounds amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And many blessings of the crone to everyone. Yeah.
Yes. Blessings to everyone. And we will be back at 12 o'clock noon UK time tomorrow. So see you then. Bye.
Bye.